DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as DreAllDay, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are on the first part of what is going to be a 4-part series on why Western society is collapsing. Yes, Western society is collapsing. If you didn't know, now you know. It is collapsing around you if you happen to be from the West. And the West pretty much encapsulates all of Western Europe and then the United States. You could just say, let's just say North America. And again, this is going to be a 4-part series. So I'll tell you all up front that, actually, first of all, let me tell you all up front. If you have not liked, subscribed, and left a review of the show on whatever app you listen to this on, whether that is on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I know a lot of you listen to the audio version, please leave a review and a rating of the show. That helps us get shown in the rankings so that more people can actually find the show, and it provides social proof and information to me to let me know how people actually feel about the material being shared on the show. So do that for me. And back to what I was saying, I did an entire live stream on this subject, probably around maybe February or March of 2025. And I realized that the points are things that also need to be shared on my official record. My official record is this show right here. So anything that I share on any other platform, if you're a listener to this show and you don't really follow me on other socials because you're actually working during the day and you're not scrolling social media like most people, and you only listen to this show, and this is pretty much the only place you get material from me, maybe you're on my email list as well, rest assured that anything that needs to officially be said that must be sussed out and fleshed out and talked about in a serious manner, it goes on this show. All right, this is the record. The official record of what Dre Baldwin thinks, feels, and has to say about things is this show right here. Okay, so if you are not following me on a LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube or Facebook or any other platform out there, that is completely okay. The official record is what you hear right here on this show. So anything that I think is important enough that I got to make sure I'm on the record. So if anybody ever asks, I can send them to something. I'm gonna send them something that comes from this feed. All right, everybody got that? Good. So I did an entire live stream, as I said, on this subject. I realized the things that I said there need to be said here. So let's get into this series now. Again, it's going to be a 4-part series. I don't really need to give any more background on this, except that I clarified what the Western society is. And I am asserting that it is collapsing, and all the points between now and the next 3 episodes are going to explain why. Point number 1, topic once again, is why Western society is collapsing. Number 1 reason, cultural and social fragmentation. Actually, none of these is number 1 reason. They're all equally number 1. Cultural and social fragmentation. What does this mean? It means that in societies, we do not have shared values like we used to. We have ongoing identity politics and division, which is further ensuring that we don't have shared values, that we don't see eye to eye, and that we're not all on the same page. Our country, let's just talk about the United States of America, because we're the ones who set the tone for all the rest of Western society. Our country was traditionally thought to be an entity with a shared vision, or any country. This could apply to any country. Germany, Italy, France, Canada, Mexico. What a country is a place where everyone has a shared vision. We may not have all the same opinions, but we have a shared vision as to what we're supposed to be about. As we are moving towards the collapse of Western society, it has become less and less the case that everyone, even within the same country, within the same borders, even have the same vision of what it should be and how it should go. This is happening not only on the national level of countries, but also on the smaller levels, such as in communities, cities, and states. I find that there's much more of this division in cities, where you get a mix of a whole bunch of different people densely packed together, as opposed to in smaller towns or in the suburban areas, where there are still communities and people still share a vision of exactly what we are, who we are, how we do things, etc., etc. So any of you who's a city dweller, such as myself, and you've been a city dweller your entire life, like me, take a trip out to some suburban areas or talk to some people who live in those type of towns, and they will verify what I just told you. And as identity politics and politics by division is simply, if you're a Democrat, you just go against everything the Republicans say, even if you actually agree with it, but you got to play the game of going against it. That's what we call politics by division. So as identity politics and politics by division to continue to gain steam and influence, and people are being more rewarded for engaging in these things, more people are dividing themselves based on identities. Which political party they support, who they like or don't like. Are you okay with the rainbow flag representing gay people, or is it supposed to represent, is not supposed to represent that at all? Depending on these things, or who you personally like and don't like. And basically what's happening is we're getting factions. You're getting cliques. Any of you who has coached or played on a sports team, you know how dangerous it can be when you start to get cliques within your sports team. So a click, and I don't mean click like clicking on your mouse on a computer, click with the QUE, that kind of click. When you start getting clicks inside of your sports team, now you have factions. Click is another word for a faction inside of your sports team. And that team's not going to perform at its best possible level when that's happening. That's not possible because you're starting to fragment the group. The group should have one shared identity. Doesn't mean that everybody is best of friends. It doesn't mean everybody hangs out off the court or off the field, but everyone should be on the same page as to what we're doing, why we're doing it, and where we're all trying to go. And everyone should know their role and be willing to play their role and embracing that role, whatever that role happens to be. So as these things gain more steam and people are self-selecting to divide themselves amongst each other, which party they support, again, who they like, and you get these separate groups within the main group. Anytime you start to get these factions and you start to get these cliques within a group, and there's no singular, uniting, unified cause, eventually you are going to get problems. Even if the problem is just that your entity is no longer performing the way that you want it to perform, because not everybody even agrees on the standards, the rules, the principles, or the goals. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why Western society is collapsing. This is the first of a 4-part series. Number 2, the breakdown of the family structure. This is something that I've talked about a lot when I talk about the black community. When I talk about the black community, I have been saying, I said this 7 years ago, I will say it again here today if you were to ask me the question, and I'm answering it for you. The number one issue in the black community is a lack of 2-parent homes. It is not the police. It is not the breakdown of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, that nonsense. It is not what's some other things that people are saying. It's not white supremacy. It is not the history of the black man in America. The biggest problem in the black community right now today, as it was 10 years ago, as it was 20 years ago, is the consistent breakdown of the black family. And the black family meaning man, woman, child at home under the same roof. And when the family structure continues to break down, not only begins, but continues to break down, society will break down, because society is a mixture of people, adults who are out there running society. And when adults are coming from broken homes, you have broken people. Broken people coming from broken homes lead to broken outcomes. And that's what's happening in our society, not just the black community, but I'm speaking on that because I'm a black person. And other communities, similar things are happening. It used to be 40, let's say maybe 40, 50, 60 plus years ago, that if you had a child and you were not married when you had the child, there was a stain on your name just by the fact that you had a child and you weren't married yet. And you knew you needed to fix that problem. And my parents, for example, had my sister, who's a year older than me, before they were married. Then they got married before I came. And they got married. They solved the problem. There was a problem to have children with somebody and not be married. It was called having a child out of wedlock. We still have that phrase, and people don't tend to use it as much as they used to because that stigma has kind of been removed. I don't think that's a good thing. That's a reduction of standards. And when you reduce standards, we know what happens. You get chaos and disorder. That's the scientific law of entropy. Another thing was to be a parent and not be living under the roof, the same roof with the other parent with whom you made the child and with the children. People are looking at you like you were crazy. They look at the man like he was crazy, and the man would be held accountable by other men with whom he was associated. Hey, take care of your damn kids and go marry that woman. You had a child with her, go marry that woman. That's what you're supposed to do. You know the rules. You were held accountable by your male friends to do that, by your male relatives to do that, by the relatives of the woman with whom you had a baby. They would hold you accountable, and your own relatives will hold you accountable for doing it. Now, my father, for example, told me that when he had a child with my mom, they didn't get married. And the first child was my sister, and we're less than a year apart. And then my mom got pregnant with child number 2. And my dad told me that his dad, my grandfather, said to my dad, okay, that's 2 kids with this woman. You need to go marry her. You need to go take care of that. And he wasn't really suggesting. He was kind of telling him. And my dad went and got married, and they've been married ever since. At least the last time I checked, they were still married. So this breakdown of family structure, folks, is because we have just lowered the standards. We no longer hold people to these standards. That kind of conversation doesn't happen as much. It still happens, just doesn't happen as much. And to be a baby mom was never looked at as some type of success. no matter what, no matter how you were living. If you were a single mom and the father of your child was not living with you, you were kind of looked at a little bit funny. You felt stigmatized in public because of this. You felt stigmatized in your community because of this. And it also didn't matter, even if you planned it. First of all, nobody planned doing that back in the day. And people are planning it now, and a woman will present herself as, well, hey, because I have so much financial resource, then it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because you don't raise a child with finances. You raise a child with your presence. Children are not raised by money. And men out there who they say, well, I have enough resources to where I can go and make as many children as I want with as many different women as I want because I can afford to take care of each one. That's the frame. I can, quote unquote, afford to take care of all these kids. Bullshit. You don't take care of kids with money. You don't take care of kids by sending a paycheck or a direct deposit or sending presents. You take care of kids by actually being there. Remember the Jennifer Lopez song, My Love Don't Cost a Thing? I remember the video to this song where she was at some nice house and she opens a gift and it's a beautiful diamond bracelet. And then she answers the phone and says, hey, sounds like she's talking to her love interest, the person who sent her the bracelet. And she says, yeah, I got the bracelet. It's beautiful. And but I wish you were here instead of the bracelet because the last thing I need is another bracelet. Then she goes into the song and the song is called Love Don't Cost a Thing. That's the very point. That's the same thing that your kids will be saying to you if you're an absentee parent. Regardless of how much money you have, you can't buy presents. You got to actually physically be there. That's why it's more valuable than money, because money is replenishable. Your time and your presence is not replenishable. And that's why it's more valuable. Again, any of you understand the 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, focus, that I talk about ad nauseum here, you would understand this very well. So please don't ever let me find out any of you who's listening to this show is out there mimicking this bullshit concept that I hear from a lot of young black men who tend to be idolaters of athletes and entertainers, that because this person has X amount of dollars and is okay that they have a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women. That is not how you raise children. And that leads to a breakdown in society. And that's not to say that there cannot be a successful, well-adjusted human coming out of a single parent home, but we know the statistics. You are the exception, you are not the rule, if you happen to be that. Or if you happen to be someone who is running a family that doesn't have 2 parents at home right now. We all know what the goal is. We all know what it's supposed to look like. And it's not that, again, that people from these backgrounds can't become successful. There are plenty of examples of this. Some of you who are listening to this are examples of success stories who came out of single parent homes. What is also true is that a lot of people who are unable to contribute to society or do not have come from these backgrounds, and statistically this is proven, disproportionately, this is where the lower levels of our society are produced from. At home and within the family structure is where children learn how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to respect men, how to respect women, and the worldview that they have is installed by their parents. Nowadays, I talked about this in the series where I talked about homeschooling. Many children are being educated by the internet and by outside resources who have nothing to do with their parents. Many children are simply being raised by things that are not mom and or dad. And this is causing a breakdown as well, because if a parent is not as hands-on with their children as they used to be, then how could you possibly install the worldview into your children that your parents installed in you? They were giving you more time. You're not giving your kids as much time. How could you possibly do it? The answer is you cannot. You're not 10 times better than your parents. So you can't spend 1/10 the time and assume that you're going to get the exact same outcome, at least in terms of installing worldview. Now, maybe there are some things when it comes to your parenting that you're going to make different from how your parents parented you. I would guess almost all parents probably have a few things they could list. Me as well. But when it comes to installing that worldview, the amount of time invested still matters. That's still a thing. And this causes, again, the breakdown in societies because these kids become the adults. And on top of all this, there's a whole lot of parents who don't even recognize this and don't even see it as a problem. And again, in our society, we got a bunch of idolaters who say, well, if someone has a certain amount of money, then that makes it okay. And I will say for the 5th time here, no, it doesn't. And this is leading to the breakdown in overall society. Point number 3, today's topic, once again, is why Western society is collapsing. Point number 3, the middle class is disappearing. I did an entire series on the breakdown of the middle class. I talked about that starting in episode number 3143. If you have not listened to it, I suggest you cross-reference. Economic struggles, unsustainable debt for the middle class. The national debt and the personal debt are going up as the cost of living and inflation continue to increase. And it's kind of the same thing. Inflation simply meaning the value of your money is lower today than it was yesterday. And any of you didn't understand that, then you should understand it, and you need to understand it really, really well, because it should be guiding your decisions. If your dollar is worth less today than it was yesterday, then the point is you just holding on to money is actually making you more poor and more broke It is not actually making you more rich. And again, I did a whole breakdown on this in episode number 3143, which was again a 4-part series. The middle class, the reason why the middle class breakdown matters so much is because the middle class is the backbone of Western society. All of Western society is held up. The foundation of it is the fact that we have a middle class, because the middle class makes up most of the workers. Most of the people who work somewhere are part of the middle class. Most of the professionals, people who do jobs that require a certain prerequisite of skills, those people come from the middle class. The tax base, a lot of is not the majority of the money that is collected by taxes. The majority comes from the upper class, but the upper class is able to pay taxes because they run businesses and they own businesses that are manned, i.e. worked at by who? The people in the middle class. So the tax base, the highest volume of people paying taxes come from the middle class. So if the middle class goes away, then a whole lot of things are going to fall apart. People in the upper class won't have anyone to hire because there are no people who are able to work jobs. The professionals who do things that we need done at a high level. For example, there's a gentleman in my house right now doing some handyman work that my wife is directing him to do, and installing stuff and shelves and things like that. Those are the professionals. They come from the middle class. And the tax base. Where is the government? Who's the government going to get money from? Because they take their money first from people who have W-2 employees, people who get paychecks. Any of you, again, you get a paycheck, look at your pay stub, you see all those deductions. That's the government taxing you before you have a chance to say what happens with your money. Whereas someone who's a business owner or an investor, they get all their money and then the government gets to say how much they owe. So who gets paid first, the government or you? If the government is getting paid first, then that's a different situation than when you're an entrepreneur and you're getting paid first. So if those people go away and the only people the government can get money from are the people who get paid first, that's going to be an issue for the government, because people who get paid first have ways of hiding, so to speak, and shielding their money from the government's grubby hands. And we have legitimate reasons to do so. All of you have legitimate reasons to do so, even if you're not able to do so yet. Problem with this is now the government is losing its tax base. All right, the people they can take from up front, if they don't have any more, then the government may have to get more aggressive in getting their money. All right, this becomes a bigger problem. Everybody see where I'm going with this? And the middle class also represents generally the masses of people. Now, there's a lot of people in the middle class. So if the middle class disappears, what's society? If the masses of our society is the middle class, but then there is no middle class, who are we? What are we? What do we have left? This is a really good question, and we don't have an answer to yet, but we may be forced to find out what the answer is. And when we get to the point that there is only an upper class and a lower class, which I believe we're going, and there's no group in the middle, it will lead to even more division between people, because we already see where this is going. People have been preaching these things for years. Well, hey, they preach to the lower class people. Hey, the reason why you're in the lower class is because these greedy people in the upper class are making it hard for you. And the people in the lower class buy into it because what are they getting when they buy into that message? What they're getting is alleviation of accountability and responsibility. And if you offer a human being to have accountability and responsibility alleviated off of their shoulders, most human beings will accept it as a general rule. You tell someone that it's not your fault, it is not your responsibility, let me take care of it, most human beings will accept that offer, just as a general human nature rule. So if you have the masses of people now in the lower class, and you got a handful of people, relatively, in the upper class, and the people in the lower class genuinely believe that their problems are all because of the people in the upper class, well, you may get upheaval, you may get all kinds of chaos in the world that I don't think any of us really wants to see. Even if you are a member of the upper class, I'm not sure you want to see that. And I don't think anyone wants to be a member of the lower class. If you are right now, you're probably trying to get out of there, right? Okay, well, what's the resolution for you if there is no middle class for you to ascend to? This is why society is starting to fall apart. And I believe this break and disintegration of the middle class is inevitable. I believe this is coming. And what's going to result is yet to be seen, but I would suggest that everybody get prepared for it, because this is coming. And I told you what to do if you're part of the middle class right now and you don't want to descend into the lower class. The only other option you have is to join the upper class. And go listen to my series on that if you didn't already understand exactly how that works. Let's recap. Today's class was the first part of a 4-part series while Western society is collapsing. Number 1, cultural and social fragmentation. In other words, we're breaking up into cliques and small groups within the group, and that means there is no united idea, no united energy, no united ethos. Number 2, the breakdown of the family structure. When families break down, you don't have man, woman, child under one roof in home with the children, then those children are coming from broken homes, and broken people come out of broken homes. I'm not saying everyone out of a broken home is a broken person, but when we do have broken people, that's usually where they're coming from. And they're going to be the ones running society 10, 20, 30 years from now. And number three, the middle class disappearance. When there is no middle class, there is no tax base, there is no masses of people. These are most of the workers. These are mostly the professionals that do the things, prepare your food, put the little green signs up on the highway so you know which exit to get off of. If there aren't any of these people, what are you going to do? How are you going to operate? These are questions that need to be answered. And what I'm telling you all is that there will come a time when inevitably we're going to get the answers, whether we come up with them on our own or not. All that said, tomorrow we're going to go into part 2 of this series. Between now and then, make sure you go to workonmygame.com, get on my email list completely for free, and go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and get to working with me directly so we can get your game where it needs to be, so to make sure that you are solidly in the group that you want to be in when the future arises, maybe sooner than you think. Work on your game. Dre, all